All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into a story that really highlights how even the biggest players in finance can have, well, technical difficulties, let's say. Imagine, right? You open your banking app, ready to check your balance, and boom, you're staring at a big fat zero.
Ouch, yeah, that's gotta hurt.
That's exactly what some Bank of America customers had to deal with on October 2nd.
And it's not like Bank of America is some small-time operation.
Right.
We're talking the second largest bank in the entire U.S., with a staggering 69 million consumers and small businesses. So even if it was just a small percentage affected by this glitch, that's still a whole lot of people suddenly in a very unsettling position.
You say that again. I mean, the Fox Business article we're looking at today, it says customers were logging in, seeing those zero balances, even though it seems like their money was probably fine, still there. But still, that initial panic.
Oh, absolutely. And the article doesn't really dive into what exactly caused the glitch, which makes it even more unsettling. Not knowing the why can really amplify that feeling of, is it going to happen again?
Exactly. Yeah. It makes you wonder what could make something like that happen. Balances don't just vanish from screens every day, even if it's temporary.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to say without all the details, but there's a chance this could have been from like a database error. Banks use incredibly complex systems to track all our accounts, transactions, everything. Those systems are constantly talking to each other, updating, and sometimes, well, things get out of sync.
Out of sync? That's a good way to put it.
It could be a software bug, or maybe an issue with how different parts of the system are communicating, or even a problem with some outside service that the bank relies on. It's tough to say without them actually saying,
Yeah.
But the point is, these systems are intricate.
So basically, it's like this chain reaction of technology, and if just one link breaks down.
And the whole thing can go haywire.
Right.
And in this case, that breakdown meant incorrect balances showing up for customers.
And speaking of breakdowns, let's talk about how this all unfolded timeline-wise. So according to Down Detector, that's a website that tracks website and app outages, for those who don't know, the first reports about Bank of America issues started popping up around 12:47 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, so early afternoon. Now, Bank of America did give a statement to Fox Business acknowledging there was an issue, and they said things were largely resolved, but...
There's always a but, isn't there?
Right. And the but here is that Down Detector was still showing reports of outages even into the evening. So even though they were working on a fix, it sounds like it lingered for a while for at least some customers.
Yeah, that tracks. Even if a bank as big as Bank of America says largely resolved, it doesn't necessarily equal everything's back to normal for absolutely every customer.
And that's a really good point. And you know what really gets me about this whole thing? It's that even when a bank as large and powerful as Bank of America says, yeah, we've pretty much fixed it, it doesn't actually mean that everything is magically back to normal for everyone, It makes you think about that gap between the official line and the reality for some customers.
Oh, for sure. And that gap can cause a ton of anxiety, especially when it's your money we're talking about. Like, if you don't know how long it'll take to really sort out the issue or if there might be other problems down the line, that uncertainty can really shake your faith in the system.
It's like that saying, right? Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. And this whole thing, even if it ends up being just this technical blip, it might make some Bank of America customers think twice about relying solely on digital banking for everything.
You've hit on a key point there. This situation exposes how vulnerable we are when we depend completely on digital systems for something as vital as banking. Sure, technology has made managing our finances way easier in many ways, but it's also created new points where things can go wrong.
And those points of failure, they can have some serious ripple effects, right?
Absolutely. We tend to think of a banking outage as a temporary annoyance. Oh, I can't check my balance right now, or I can't make this quick transfer. But these outages can actually have much bigger consequences than that.
Give us an example. What kind of consequences are we talking about?
Okay, so let's say you're expecting your paycheck to be deposited directly into your account on a certain day, and bam, the bank system crashes. Suddenly you can't access those funds when you need them to pay your bills, buy groceries. It throws a wrench in your entire life.
Yeah, that's rough.
Or imagine you've got a bill payment schedule, and because of the outage, it doesn't go through. Now you're looking at late fees, maybe even penalties, and that can even ding your credit score.
Good points. It's easy to forget just how connected our financial lives are to these digital systems. When those systems go down, the consequences can snowball into different parts of our lives.
Exactly. This Bank of America glitch, even if it seems like an isolated incident, it really speaks to a larger issue.
Yeah.
How strong and resilient is our financial infrastructure in a world that's becoming more and more digital?
It raises some big questions for everyone, not just Bank of America customers. It really makes you realize that we're not just using technology, we're living with it, you know? Our lives are so intertwined with these systems, it's kind of on us to be prepared if or when they go down.
100%. It's easy to just assume everything will always work perfectly. But like we've seen with this Bank of America situation, that's not always the reality. So what can we do? Knowledge is power.
Right, what can we do?
Start by actually checking your bank's communication policies.
Hmm.
How do they let you know if there's an outage? Do they send texts? Do they have a page on their website or app with status updates? Knowing where to get that information quickly, that can make all the difference if there's a problem.
That's a good point. I am guilty of never checking those notification settings. It's like one of those things you put off until you actually need it, you know?
Exactly. And while you're at it, take a look at your bank's guaranteed funds policy, too. It's good to know how your money's protected in these kinds of situations.
Right, like what are the actual guarantees?
Yep. It's all about backup plans.
Backup plans, exactly.
And beyond just knowing those policies, it's not a bad idea to have other ways to access your money or make payments, just in case.
Like what?
Do you have a second bank account somewhere? A credit card you can use if you need to. Having those backups can be a lifesaver if your main bank is down.
It's like a diversified portfolio, but for your everyday finances. Spread the risk.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really interesting deep dive, to say the least. We started with what seemed like a simple news story about a bank glitch, and it's turned into this whole conversation about technology, digital life, and the importance of being prepared.
It really has. It reminds us that even though we rely on technology more and more, we have the power to protect ourselves by staying informed, asking questions, and having those backup plans ready. Don't just assume it'll always work perfectly.
Because it won't. So to everyone listening, maybe take a minute to check those notification settings, look over your bank's policies, and hey, maybe even stash a little extra cash in your wallet, just in case.
Never hurts.
Because in the world of digital finance, being prepared is never a bad thing.